Happening now on Grid Tonight. Austin Dillon lost his appeal of the penalties handed down from Richmond. Can the number 3 team find victory lane at Daytona or Darlington to make the playoffs? Meyer Shank Racing will end its technical alliance with Andretti Global and start a new one with Chip Ganassi Racing. Will this take Meyer Shank to the next level? The Clash is moving from Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum to Bowman Gray Stadium. What should we expect in NASCAR's return to the track known as the Madhouse? And hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert, and with me are Joshua Burton filling in for Matt White. Matthew Owens from the Ultimate Sports Radio Network. Happy to have you back on here, Matthew, and we encourage everyone to comment in the chat, ask questions, and support us through Super Chat. Now, Josh, take it away with our top story this evening.
Thank you, Kobe. Good evening to you. Welcome back, Matthew. Nice to have you as well. If we can't have one, we'll have the other as well. And always replacing an oracle with the oracle coming into it as well. I feel very at home with my two co-hosts alongside me this evening. So, Richard Childress Racing's Austin Dillon has lost his appeal, and the penalties issued to him after the controversial ending to the NASCAR Cup Series race at Richmond Raceway will stand. The National Motorsports Appeal Panel upheld the penalties, which saw Dillon's Richmond win not count towards his playoff eligibility, and lost 25 driver and owner points. However, they have reduced the 3-race suspension for spotter Brandon Benich down to 1 race, the photo taken there by Sean Garner from Getty Images. Now, the 3 people on the panel were Tom Dillon alongside Kelly Hulsby and Tommy Wheeler, who released a joint statement saying that NASCAR represents elite motorsports, and as such, its drivers are expected to demonstrate exemplary conduct if its series championships are to be validated. In this case, the line was crossed. Well, with me now is USON commentator Matthew Owens as well, who's been on the show a couple of times. Hello, Matthew. I consider you an oracle in motorsports as well. So I think you're very well versed to answer this question. How do you feel about the decision?
Well, thank you for that, by the way, and thank you for having me on. The decision was the right decision. Not to say that I'm not mildly surprised by it, because there was no precedent before this action and this incident of stripping playoff eligibility away from a driver that won a race in the regular season. We've been doing this for 10 years now, and that had never happened before. So because of that, I am a little mildly surprised. I believe I commented on this show last week after it happened. I thought that there would be a non-zero chance that RCR could win this appeal. But as you mentioned and you laid out the reasons why they didn't, and obviously I think we all agree, everyone except Richard Childress Racing believes that that was the right decision. And I loved the statement about NASCAR being a premier sport, a premier series of motor racing. It absolutely hit the right tone with the statement, and it's the correct decision. I also actually think, and maybe I'm in the minority here, I think it was also the right decision to lower the suspension for the spotter, because as you guys talked about last week, and I was completely with you on it, you know, he said what he said on the radio, saying for Austin to wreck him. I don't know how that got 3 races, while the action of actually wrecking Hamlin got nothing as far as suspension goes. So I think all around they got it right here on this appeal. And I don't see any reason why this second appeal, or whatever you want to call it, would be any different. But yeah, I think they got the right decision for sure. It was going to be very difficult to come into this and prove that it wasn't intentional. All the SMT data showed what it showed. You weren't going to say, well, that provides a shadow of a doubt. You weren't going to get that here.
Yeah, it was. We all said it cut and dry, wasn't it, as well? Ben has come in. Hello, Ben. Saying, thank goodness RCR needs to just take the L and keep the W. I think that's quite interesting. Jeremy Clements won his Xfinity appeal in 2022. To add back into that, he did, didn't he, as well? Why is Austin Dillon's spotter suspension one race? That's crazy. So Adam is of the opinion it maybe, are you, Adam, that it should be the 3 races for telling him to wreck? I think they both should have been suspended for a race weekend. That was my opinion. I think now that the spotters served the 1 race penalty, that should be fine. But help them going into the next 2 races. So that's always going to be a factor to pay into it. I don't know if my camera's crashed or not. I think it might have. Yeah, there we go. The signal's a bit choppy here in the UK. In and out. That's good. If my audio is working, can you still hear me, Matthew?
Yes, can now. Well, I thought.
Okay, yeah, I'm being told the location, and I'm our Wi-Fi's playing up. Someone's messing with. There's a storm in the air, and someone's messing with the router down the street. I'm just being told someone's shouting. So if I do go, I do apologise. I'll get through this quickly because then if Kobe needs to step in for the IndyCar segment, you can do. So let's get on to Richard Childress Racing's statement coming in now that they've released in reply to this. It says Richard Childress Racing is disappointed in the results of today's hearing in front of the National Motorsports Appeal Panel. We respect the NASCAR appeals process, but we do not believe that today's outcome reflects the facts presented. We plan to appeal the decision to the final appeal officer. So they, so they appealed it, and then they've appealed the appeal, and now they're going to take it to the final appeal. So it's getting a bit silly, isn't it? As Adam says, yes, I do, Josh. Austin Dillon spotter deserves 3 races. Okay, so 3 races. Okay. So,
I just want to know what facts were presented. Like, again, as I said a moment ago, it was going to be really hard to go into that building and slam your fist on the desk and prove without a shadow of a doubt that what he did was intentional with the data and the radio communication with the spotter and, well, just the eye test, which was so obvious in the moment. So, I want to know what new facts were presented and why they think that it was why they thought it was going to change the original decision, and then why they think it's going to change it on a second attempt. I mean, sure, you can say, should they try every avenue? Yeah, okay. I probably would too. I would feel... I didn't feel confident that they would overturn it the first time. I would feel less confident now, but I just want to know what facts were presented. I want to know what the game plan was when they went into the room, or if it was virtual. I want to know what was laid out as in facts/new facts presented to the appeals committee.
I do too, because it doesn't make sense as to how you could even build a case against that. It's like, in my opinion, it's you've got the murderer caught over the body with the murder weapon right in their hand. You can't really get away with it. So it'll be interesting to see what they said, and maybe they had some GPS technical data, and they argued the case that it was a spur of the moment thing. It wasn't premeditated, and I don't know. I would really like to see that. Let's hope that somebody on the NASCAR team gets some info on the journalist panel in the media center, and it all comes down maybe this weekend at the press conferences as well at Daytona. That'll be one to tune into, and any news that we have will bring it to you in our pre-race show as well. But it's not going to get overturned, is it? It's pretty much like they've stamped it.
Maybe there were people at RCR that watches USA Network a lot, because NASCAR's on there, and they caught some Law and Order and said, hey, I know how to get us out of this. Here's the new stuff that we're going to present. And they tried to Law and Order their way out of it.
Doof, doof. It wouldn't surprise me, because if anybody was watching the USA Network, like we were forced to do for our commentary screens on Monday, the cars rolled off pit road at 10:55. USA went on at 11, and everyone was screaming at their televisions because 5 minutes before, Law and Order came back on to finish their episode, a repeat episode, and we were all going like, they're off pit road, we're back to, come on, we're nearly at green.
Yeah, I did hear reports that they were going crazy on Law and Order radio this weekend. The callers were going crazy on L&O radio. My goodness.
I'll be loving that as well, because of course we didn't get the what we called the yeah, we didn't get the dirty feed, and what that means is that there's the international feed where we just get the track cameras and everything as well. So that's one thing you've sort of got to wait to see about. As I'm just going to do a quick camera on and off. I've been
Unplug it, plug it back in. Yeah.
Yeah, this is all going well, isn't it? I've completely crashed. There I am. The technology today is going absolutely mad. Okay, all fun and jokes until something breaks. There we go. That seems to have fixed it. Someone's playing around with. I don't know how it is over there in America with their internet cables, but here in the UK, it's all underground and it's connected by green boxes. That's in the front of everybody's one house in the street. Someone's messing around with ours down there. I'm being told there's a works van there. It's a TV internet hub, and someone's messing around with it. So when Kobe takes over, I'm going to go out there and just knock them on the head with a microphone, just to stop interfering with our show. We will get through it. Okay, moving on to our second story of the evening, and we're moving over to IndyCar now, because at the end of the 2024 NTT IndyCar season, Meyer Shank Racing will end its long-time technical alliance with Andretti Global. Now, the team co-owner, Michael Shank, confirmed the heavily rumoured change to Marshall Pruitt from Racer.com. Meyer Shank will begin a new technical alliance in 2025 with Chip Ganassi Racing. Now, in this new multi-year partnership, MSR will receive full technical support from Ganassi, which includes providing the engineering staff for both full-time entries. Additionally, Ganassi is giving them setup information, dampers, data from the CGR drivers, and MSR drivers will get the participate in team briefings as well. They get to have all the information coming into it as well with the Cassini drivers. The link to this article is in the video description below, and the photo has been taken by James Black from Penske Entertainment. So Kobe's with me here as well. Let's hope one of those going to have stable internet for this bit. What does this new alliance with Ganassi mean for Meyer Shank Racing and their future in IndyCar?
I think the future for Meyer Shank Racing is extremely bright in the NTT IndyCar Series. It doesn't get better than aligning with the standard of one of the two standards of the series, which is Chip Ganassi Racing. And obviously, I think the number one standard obviously has to be Team Penske, and that's why AJ Foyt Racing has an alliance with them. That's why you saw David Malukas go to that organization, because of what he saw in the potential of that alliance and everything that can potentially bring him over time as we head into the future. And I think that Meyer Shank Racing, I think it was already an attractive destination for whoever is going to get that number 66 Honda in 2025 and beyond. But given the Ganassi alliance, I think that this is even huge. This is just so huge for the organization. And I really believe that Meyer Shank Racing will benefit tremendously. And all of a sudden, if the line wasn't already long for this number 66 Honda, I think the line just doubled or even tripled, because if I was a free agent looking for an IndyCar ride, this is the one team that I would really, really want to go to, because I think that they could show a lot in 2025 aligning with Ganassi. And to be fair, I think Meyer Shank Racing has really shown a lot, especially Felix Rosenquist showed a lot of speed early on in the season. It's still running well, although it really seems like Felix in certain cases trying to build some consistency, and all of that has fallen flat. But the speed is definitely there. They have a lot of talented people in that organization, and I really believe that this is a great thing for Meyer Shank Racing. And it's also the end of an era. You said Josh is going to end in their alliance with Andretti Global, and right now, I don't think Andretti is bad at all. I think they've certainly improved, downsizing to this 3-car operation compared to the 4-car team that we've seen in the past. So I think that's working wonders for them. But if you look at Chip Ganassi Racing, I think they're on another level right now in IndyCar over Andretti. So I think that Meyer Shank Racing really got a good deal out of this, especially Josh, since you mentioned that they're going to be getting dampers, they can set up information, data from the drivers, and they're going to be able to participate in team debriefs with the Ganassi drivers. Like if you're a Meyer Shank Racing driver, it's going to be so cool being able to be in the same room as a Scott Dixon or Alex Below and be able to pick their brain and ask them about the data and like what their car doing here and there. I think is a really good thing for them.
Makes it even more bizarre that David Malukas has sort of stepped away from MSR as well and gone over. So it confuses me no end. If you've got such a good lineup coming, and certainly Meyer Shank Racing, I think personally need this. So it's a really good stronghold for them. They've been looking good, and wonder what Helio's going to do. I know he's up with McLaren at the moment, but nice to see if he decides, I'll do a couple. He's already had that itch this year, hasn't he?
Yeah. I believe Elio Castroneves is. I believe it's already. Well, someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he already confirmed that he is coming back next year to try to keep the drive for 5 alive and eventually get that fifth Indy 500 victory. And if they have a Ganassi alliance next year, then I really believe Elio's going to be in a very good position to get that done. I still think he has a lot left in the tank at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and he certainly has potential to get the job done. But yeah, Josh, you mentioned David Malukas. Last week we talked about AJ Foyt Racing and looking at the alliance with with Chip Ganassi Racing. You would think, well, why wouldn't you want to stay together? Because we all saw the great run he had at Gateway until made the contact with Will Power and it all ended badly for him. But David Malukas, if he had gotten by Will Power without making contact, he was probably going to win that race. Yeah, he was just very strong, and I thought if he stayed in that 66 car, that team could potentially do some great things together. But kind of like I just said, that there's probably going to be a longer line of drivers to drive this number 66 car, given the Ganassi alliance. I guess Malukas was looking on the other side with Foyt, being like, oh, there's a Team Penske alliance. Maybe that's something to look at. And to AJ Foyt Racing's credit, they've done an amazing job this year. I remember when this team, both of their cars were at the very back of the pack of almost every IndyCar race, and mostly with the 14 team Santino Ferrucci. He's moved that team well up the grid, and they're a lot more competitive than we've seen in a very long time. And I think that AJ Foyt Racing is going to continue moving forward and inching closer and closer to the grid. So I think that could have potentially played to David Malukas' decision to leave the team. But whether the team is aligned with Ganassi or Penske, I guess you can't go wrong. So I guess David Malukas, instead of saying that he's going up or going down, I guess he's kind of like moving to the side, because you can't go wrong with a team that's aligned with Ganassi or Penske. And Ben says that Elio Castroneves said that he'd be back in his post-race interview. Yep, so there it is.
Yeah, and the post-race interview that we saw as well, that Georgia did the interview for. And by the way, congratulations to Georgia and her partner, who's, as I said last week, they're expecting their first baby in 2025.
Georgia Hannaberry.
Yeah. I was really surprised, actually, as well. Rumors that already swirling that she might be on the Fox team as well, which I think is fantastic news. She's been a great reporter this year on the NBC team. We saw David Malukas almost welling up with emotion. All his fans, of course, coming to his side and sort of blaming Will Power. Power was blaming Malukas, of course. You saw Power, just stating when he got out of the car. David Malukas said in an interview today that Will Power, I think, called him the next day and said, "Yeah, it was my bad. I squeezed you. All good and all that lot. I'm sorry and all that lot." And David has said, "Yeah, we're all fine, and let's get together in Portland and take a photo and show to everyone that we're all good and all is good." So I know Joe Samiego's heading trackside at Portland this weekend alongside our own Jackson Lambert as well. So maybe if they
You're cutting out again, Josh.
I've become radio only. Someone get me a mallet so I can go stop this person. Let's see when it comes back. I can hear you. There we go. Yeah, there we go.
I can hear you.
Lagging. Oh, it's all going on tonight, isn't it? This is
you're frozen right now. And your audio is going in and out. And this is what happens when you do live
Yeah,
programs, everyone. Sometimes you have these technical difficulties.
my camera's completely gone, by the way, just to let you know. So I am trying to come back, signal in the area. So I am adjusting, and I will be back with you shortly. I do apologize.
Are you almost back? No, he's working through it.
For these few sometimes have issues, and I think might be lagged out. Yes. No. Apologize.
You're still breaking up. Yeah, and Josh, while you're doing that, you're just gonna go ahead and look at our next little talking point here about the confirmation of this new alliance. We believe it comes at a good time, given the rumors that Ganassi is downsizing from 5 to 3 full-time entries. So Ganassi will have a place to put some of its current personnel that it wants to keep in their stable, but many wonder if it may include one of their current drivers. Well, notice Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, they're to stay with Ganassi. They aren't going anywhere. Kiffin Simpson, who we know he also brings a lot of sponsorship money to the table, and that only leaves Linus Lundqvist and Marcus Armstrong as potentially two drivers who may need a home. Lundqvist drove a few races with Meyer Shank last year, so that's something to keep in mind. And looking at the current MSR driver lineup at the moment, we don't have any reason to believe that Felix Rosenqvist will leave the team, especially after Michael Shank promised him some stability. Plus, Rosenqvist is a former Ganassi driver, so he's familiar with how they operate. However, the number 66 Honda is available, which we reported on last week's show, that David Malukas is leaving the team at the end of the year for AJ Foyt Racing. Michael Shank told Racer.com that they'll get to pick who drives for him, not Ganassi, because each organization will run its team separately. And I'll throw this question out to the viewers on answer as well. Is Meyer Shank Racing a more attractive destination for drivers now with the Ganassi Alliance compared to Andretti? Also, who do you think would be a good fit for the number 66 Honda? And I think I've already answered that. The first part, that I believe that with the Ganassi Alliance, that Meyer Shank Racing will be a more attractive destination. And I think that there's going to be an endless list of drivers who are going to want to drive that car, whether they're current IndyCar drivers who are going to be free agents at the end of the year, whether it's Indy Next drivers who are looking to move up, or drivers from the road to F1 ladder system from Formula 2, Formula 3 want to come over and race in the IndyCar Series. I think that this seat is going to be extremely attractive. You're going to see a lot of drivers fighting to get this car. And in regards to who would be a good fit for the number 66 Honda, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure at all. I would think it would probably be one of the Ganassi drivers who may get left out if the team decides to downsize at the end of the year. And when I was putting together the script for this story, my first bet was Alexander Rossi for the number 66 Honda.
Yeah.
And then Josh, I see you're back. Here's an interesting thing that I read. Marshall from Racer.com, he said that there's actually a growing fear that Alexander Rossi will be out of IndyCar full-time at the end of the 2024 season. Pruitt said that he's not going to Ganassi, and as the last silly season piece offered at Pruitt Road, it said the team's 3-driver lineup for next year is already set. So I guess we got Dixon, Palou, and then whoever the current group is going to stick around. I assume it's going to be Kiffin Simpson, since he brings a lot of sponsorship money to the table with that organization. But yeah, Marshall Pruitt saying that Alexander Rossi there's a possibility that he may not be full-time in IndyCar in 2025, which would certainly definitely be something, because I really thought Alexander Rossi, would easily land a full-time seat next year. But apparently, that's up in the air. As more drivers are confirmed, there's going to be less and less seats available. So Rossi potentially could be on the sidelines full-time next year. But even if he is on the sidelines, I believe he could definitely find a very good seat for the Indianapolis 500, because who wouldn't want to put a former Indy 500 winner in a good car? He could, and he showed in the last handful of years with Errol McLaren that he can still get it done at the track. he was in contention to win this year's Indy 500. He was right up there battling at the front, and you put him in a good car in the best situation, he can go out there and get another Indy 500 victory.
110% he can as well. And I think McLaren's sort of whirlwind of drivers at the moment is creating a whole lot of mess in IndyCar as well. So it's the main focus, isn't it? And you never know what the driver lineup's going to be one week to the next as well. Adam says taking a number regarding number or drivers wanting to drive for Meyer Shank Racing. Yeah, it's take a number at the meet counter, isn't it? Just whoever's up next. I mean, I think that 51 car's had more drivers in it this year than any other team have changed over or even suggested changing over ahead of next year. Is it 6 or 7?
Are you talking about the Delcoin car?
Yeah, the 51.
I'd have to look and see how many drivers been in that car, but it's certainly been quite a number. And people always make the jokes about Delcoin Racing. That whenever you see Delcoin Racing on the entry list, it's always TBA all the time because you never know who's going to be driving the car because they only have like a different driver in the car for almost every single race. But yeah, Delcoin Racing, they've stuck around for so many years that they've done this model before. They're going to continue on, and we're going to see them on the grid next year, because next year's seems like it's going to look a little bit different with IndyCar, especially with the rumors that teams will only be capped at 3 full-time entries.
That's going to be very interesting for McLaren coming into the 500 as well, going into it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Going to be very, very a lot of fun. Apologies for the technical difficulties. For the moment, they look like they have stabilized. That's the benefit of doing live broadcasting. At least it is live, everybody. And we don't just fake it and record it and premiere it live. This is properly live and anything can happen. And we have stabilized. Thank you, Kobe, for stepping in as well. I think Megan has just returned with the shovel over her shoulder. So she's disposed of the body. All okay. So let's move on to our hot topic of this evening then as well. On February the 2nd, 2025, the NASCAR Cup Series will head to Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, for the Busch Light Clash exhibition race. Now, for the last 3 years, the Clash has been held at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. And now it's on the move again, heading to a track nicknamed the Madhouse. Ben Kennedy, the NASCAR executive vice president / the chief venue and racing innovative officer, that's very hard to say, said bringing the Cup Series back to Bowman Gray for the first time since the 1970s is a great way to celebrate NASCAR's roots, history, and its regional series. In another way to celebrate NASCAR's return to the Madhouse, NASCAR Studios and Fox Sports Films are going to produce a 1-hour documentary titled The Madhouse, NASCAR's Return to Bowman Gray Stadium, that will premiere on FS1. From 1958 to 1971, the Cup Series held points-paying races at Bowman Gray, where some of the sport's biggest names from back in the day found victory lane. They are such as Lee Petty, Richard Petty, David Pearson, Junior Johnson, Bobby Allison, Glenn Wood, and Rex White. Now, also a few current Cup drivers like Kyle Larson and Bubba Wallace previously competed in the ARCA Menards Series East races at Bowman Gray. If you haven't seen those on YouTube, go look. They're absolutely fantastic fun races to watch. Kennedy called the decision to move to the Clash from Los Angeles to Winston-Salem an evolution of the event. However, some are concerned about the decision to host the event in North Carolina during the middle of winter and get really cold there that time of year with potential of wintry weather. The graphic courtesy there of NASCAR's digital media team. Matthew Owens is back, our Oracle as well. This time I've stabilized a little bit, so no more jumping and having, memes, images on me. So come on then, Matthew. We were on the air, I think, when we were talking about this during the Richmond race when it got announced. You said you don't go to many races, but you might consider going to this one. What do you think of NASCAR moving the Clash to Bowman Gray Stadium? And do you have concerns about hosting the event during the North Carolina winter time?
So, just a disclaimer, I am extremely biased when it comes to this, so take my comments with any amount of grains of salt that you need, but I just cannot wait for it. I've literally come to you from Winston-Salem. I work in Winston-Salem just about every day. I have for a number of years. I live 20 minutes from it. So, yes, I am extremely biased when it comes to this. And I've been to Bowman Gray a handful of times. Not recently, but I have been. This is going to be a spectacular event. And just as much as the street course race in Chicago or the Clash in the Coliseum in Los Angeles, and even the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, as much as those events were made for TV events, this one will be too. No, we're not in the LA Coliseum with all of its history and all of its majesty in downtown Los Angeles, and we don't have that here. What we do have here in Winston-Salem are some of the most die-hard race fans you'll ever see, and that goes for NASCAR. That's the regional level. They just love racing here in this area. That's always seen in the ratings and all of that, and I'm just so excited for this area. I was excited for the state when North Wilkesboro got announced a couple of years ago. I'm crazy excited about this. As far as a lot of people freaking out over the weather, I promise you, we don't need to lose our minds about it. First off, we've had so much weather this year to deal with, and we're going to have more as the season goes on. I mean, my goodness, we're going to have some to deal with this weekend at Daytona, surely, because it's Daytona in the summer. We're not going to have anything crazy. I looked it up. I knew we were going to be talking about this, so I looked this up. In Winston-Salem on February 2nd, 2024, the high was 63, the low was 37. So more than likely, it's going to be a very nice weekend. It's going to be a late winter kind of weekend in this area, and it's going to be chilly at night when the races run. But listen, high school football starts and college football starts, and football in general is starting here very soon. And in the Winston-Salem area, plenty of high school football programs. A lot of fans come in November and December and sit through much colder temperatures than what we're going to have more than likely next February. I have no concerns about the weather. I have no concerns that it's going to keep fans away. I think I said to you, Josh, I don't know when tickets go on sale for this when we were talking about this Saturday night with the IndyCar race at Gateway, but whenever tickets go on sale, I think they might sell out in 3.5 minutes. It's going to be an unbelievable demand for tickets for this race. What's the racing going to look like? I don't know. Likely similar to what we've had in Los Angeles, but the place is going to be absolutely packed. You can bet your bottom dollar for that, and the surrounding area is going to support the heck out of this. I can't even tell you. The Winston-Salem Dash, the minor league baseball team, they'll probably get involved with it. There's a minor league hockey team here, the Carolina Thunderbirds. They'll get involved with it. Heck, maybe even the big teams will get involved with it. This is going to be supported like you would not believe. The only thing I hate about it, and I pass it every day going to work, I just hate what has happened in the last couple of years to the Winston Cup Museum having to shut down because this would have just been tailor-made for people that work there, that have worked there, to go in, have great business for it, and to also just be people on the grounds, because this is going to just be spectacular. I know I keep going around in circles on that. And again, I'll say this too, what I said about North Wilkesboro a couple of years ago. I'm so happy that Mike Joy is going to be walking everyone through this on Fox, because no one is a better historian of this sport than him. And he's going to convey very well for new fans and for veteran fans like myself. I mean, I've watched this sport my entire life, but I hadn't even come close to seeing a NASCAR Cup race at Bowman Gray. I am so excited. I
I've
might be
already.
there too, like
I
you
was going
said.
to say.
Like you said, I might be venturing down there. We'll see what the schedule looks like, what they'll do on the Saturday. I mean, like I said, I pass it every day. I might as well do
Oh,
something.
You're going. I already know what's going to happen, Matthew. It'll be me, JT, Jack. We'll have Seth. We'll have Matt. We'll all be in the commentary booth talking about it. And then I'll say, let's go down to Matthew Owens and he's trackside. And you'll be screaming your head off with all the NASCARs with your media pass and your headphones and the mic. You'll be there. I know you will be.
Yeah. I can't. If I'm there, if I'm not, I cannot wait. And, I don't know, too. I want to add this point, too. I don't know many other sports that would really do this, like send an all-star exhibition kind of event to a place like Winston-Salem. I love Winston-Salem to death, but it pales in comparison to Los Angeles and Chicago and other places where you would send an event like this to huge cities. I don't know many other sports that would do this. This is really, really awesome.
Are NASCAR fans being rewarded with this? Like, we've stopped with the glitz and glamour. Are we being rewarded by North Wilkesboro, Bowman Gray? Are we sort of saying, yeah, we'll bring modern back to classic?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to go on very long here because I could go down an hour rabbit hole on this. But, this sport needed to grow from its southeastern roots like mad in the 70s and the 80s, and eventually they started to once we got to the 90s, and we went out to the Dallas-Fort Worth area and Southern California and Las Vegas and Chicago and all the places that we went. But we most definitely, in that process of growing, we lost a lot of our roots in this sport. We lost a Darlington race. The Southern 500 was taken off of Labor Day weekend. We lost North Wilkesboro. We lost Rockingham. And just some of the special feelings around the historic roots of the sport went away for a long time. I think we're finally towing that line of finding a way to take this sport to big places, but to also say, we made some mistakes. We went overboard. So let's go back to North Wilkesboro. Let's go to Bowman Gray, which I could never have even imagined that if we said this a week ago. I know there's rumblings about Rockingham. I think we're finally finding the right balance between taking this sport to big markets like a Chicago, and who knows what comes of that street course race in the future, and then things like this, North Wilkesboro and Bowman Gray. Obviously, NASCAR very badly wants and needs to be in Southern California at some point. The Coliseum was an incredibly difficult and expensive venture for the last 3 years, I guess it's been now. And I can see why they decided to change that and to go away from it. Auto Club, what's going on there is an absolute mess. They'll be in Southern California at some point again, I imagine. But yeah, to your point, this is a fantastic move for people like me and the thousands upon thousands like me that fell in love with this sport before it grew exponentially. And every now and again, we want to go back in time.
Oh, I love going back in time. I love it. And that's why in the UK we've got the Goodwood Revival and watch all the classic cars go by as well. Thank you, Matthew. And with no EPI update, of course, this week, because Matt White's on holiday, we're going to hand straight over to Kobe for more news around the motorsport world.
Thank you, Josh. And time for some more motorsports news, as promised. And we're going to start off with some news from the world of MotoGP. After giving Raul Fernandez a contract extension, the Trackhouse Racing MotoGP team signed Japanese rider Ai Ogura for the 2025 and 2006 MotoGP seasons. Both riders will compete on the current factory specification Trackhouse Aprilia RSGP bikes. Ogura has been very impressive in MotoGP this season, who currently sits second in the championship with 2 wins so far. He said that Trackhouse is really competitive with a strong bike, and his job as a rider is doing what he can with everything that he has with Ogura. Coming next year, it means that Miguel Oliveira will depart the team, photo courtesy of Trackhouse Racing MotoGP. In 2025, Colic Racing is bringing AJ Allmendinger back to the NASCAR Cup Series full-time. Allmendinger returned to the Xfinity Series full-time this year with the organization alongside a part-time schedule in the number 16 Colic Cup car. Now Allmendinger will get to do another stint with the team as a full-time Cup driver after competing in the Premier Series full-time last year. However, he'll try to win an Xfinity Series title before moving back up to the top level. Allmendinger is currently 16 points and continuing to look for his first win of the 2024 season. Graphic courtesy of Colic Racing. Matt Gould will make his NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series debut this weekend at the Milwaukee Mile. Gould will drive the number 44 Chevrolet Silverado for Nice Motorsports, who is also the son of the team's winningest and longest tenured crew chiefs, Phil Gould. Matt Gould currently competes in the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series in races across the Southeast, primarily at Hickory Motor Speedway. So far, he has earned 3 wins in late model stock car racing at Orange County Speedway, Florence Motor Speedway, and of course, Hickory. In 2022, Gould made 2 starts in the ARCA Menard Series with Nice at Milwaukee and Toledo, scoring a top 10 in both races. Graphic courtesy of Nice Motorsports. Haas Factory Team confirmed its driver lineup for the 2025 NASCAR Xfinity Series season, with Cole Custer returning to the Cup Series next year with Haas and Riley Herbst not returning to the organization. It means they've signed 2 new drivers as they exit the Stewart-Haas racing era. Sheldon Creed will take over the number 00 Ford full-time, replacing Custer, while Sam Mayer takes over the number 41 Ford, replacing Hearst, and the number 98. Team President Joe Custer said both drivers bring significant experience and a shared desire to win as the team plans to continue performing at a high level in a new era under a different name. Photo taken by Brittany Wilver from NASCAR Digital Media. NBC Sports announced that Lee Diffie will begin his role as the lead play-by-play broadcaster alongside Jeff Burton and Steve Letarte in the booth for the NASCAR Cup Series starting this weekend at Daytona International Speedway. Diffie comes to NASCAR after finishing up his duties as the lead commentator for track and field at the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris, France. However, in our world, he's best known as the lead commentator for the NTT IndyCar Series, which lasted for more than a decade, including all 6 Indianapolis 500 broadcasts on NBC Sports. Diffie has also done Formula One, IMSA, Supercross, and MotoGP. With Diffie being the lead commentator for the Cup Series, Rick Allen will remain with NBC as the lead play-by-play commentator for the Xfinity Series and will continue through the end of the year as the Xfinity Series moves to the CW network. Photo courtesy of NBC Sports. And we also had some breaking news come in just a few moments ago, so we're going to go into that. After Corey LaJoie's airborne crash on the backstretch of Michigan International Speedway on Monday, NASCAR will be mandating a new right side rear window air deflector beginning at Daytona. This component increases the liftoff speed of the car in the early part of the spin, and the parts have been wind tunnel tested and quantified. The fin matches what is currently run on the left side rear window and will be supplied to the teams by NASCAR. So NASCAR making an immediate reaction right there to Corey LaJoie's blowover at Michigan. And now we're going to end this segment with some sad news. Last Friday morning, dirt late model racing legend Scott Bloomquist was killed in a plane crash. The 60-year-old lost his life near his home in Mooresburg, Tennessee. Bloomquist competed in his final race on August 3rd in the USA Nationals at Cedar Lake Speedway in New Richmond, Wisconsin. During his Hall of Fame dirt racing career, Bloomquist won over 600 races. Wow. And he also made a start in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series at Eldora Speedway in 2013 with Kyle Busch Motorsports. And right here you see on your screen is a statement from the World of Outlaws late models, which says Scott Bloomquist's legendary status not only grew out of his accomplishments on the track, but his innovations throughout the late model industry. He played a key role with dirt car racing and the World of Outlaws, helping rebuild the World of Outlaws late model so it could grow into what it's become today. His influences also helped the evolution of racetracks and chassis over the years. Bloomquist's passion for the sport and innovative mind will be deeply missed by all, and that is from Brian Carter from the World Racing Group. He's the CEO of that organization. Yeah, on behalf of everyone at Grid Network, we definitely send our best wishes to the family and friends of Scott Bloomquist during this extremely difficult time. And may his memory be a blessing. And also in the chat right here, Adam Limmery says that rest in peace, Campbell Little. He was one of the premier standouts in the supercar spat. Yeah, we just got that news earlier today about Campbell Little as well. Really sad to hear about that. Losing a lot, we lost quite a number of legends in motorsports this year. And now Josh, going to turn over to you for our next segment of Hots and Knots.
Yep, Hots and Knots coming up then, as well as Matt would say, sponsored still by insert your company name here. I'm in charge this week as well because Matt's on holiday. He'll be back with us, I think, next week. So with me tonight to discuss Hots and Knots from the weekend is Matthew Owens. Hello, Matthew, again. So do you want to kick it off? What's your hot from this weekend of motorsport action?
Well, so definitely a hot right off the bat is the crowd at Michigan from this past weekend. Obviously, the not will be the weather coming up, but apparently it was just shy of a sellout. Word on the street is it was the most sales for a cup race at Michigan since 2007. So Michigan, I love Michigan. I talked to you all weekend about how much I love Michigan. The racing there is always so great. It's such a unique racetrack. It's a historic racetrack. Provided more great racing. Unfortunately, it can't get any luck with the weather. That's down to the last 3 years where the Michigan weekend has been affected by weather. 2022, the start was delayed due to weather, but they got it all in on Sunday. Last year, started on Sunday, had to finish on Monday, and the same thing happens this weekend, of course. But great to see all of those fans at Michigan and quite a bit staying to watch on Monday. But I also have to say, the biggest hot in the world right now is Lee Diffie. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. I'm so happy. I'm so happy for Lee Diffie. So let me tell you a quick story. At one time in my life, I did a sports talk show in the morning. Morning sports talk show. That's probably a better way to put it. And I had Lee Diffie on as a guest one time. He just was so nice, so accommodating. We had a great conversation about IndyCar, about Formula One. I think at that time what he was doing with the Olympics was rowing. He had not gotten into track and field yet. But we just had a great conversation. And I love sports media and I love delving into it, but he's so great at everything he does. But what we often don't get to see is just how great these people are. And he really is one of the best. And he's worked so hard. I mean, could you have even imagined? I don't want to spend 20 minutes on this, but just speaking from your experience, Josh, and everything that you have done trying to get up the broadcasting ladder, could you imagine a world where you were quite literally a world away in Australia and you put in all of this work to get somewhere in this industry, somewhere big in this industry, and think about what he's done. Rolex 24, Le Mans, Indianapolis 500, the voice of IndyCar on a major American network. And now on that same network, he's going to be the voice of NASCAR on television. Who could have ever dreamt that? All the voices that we've had in the past of NASCAR on TV. We have had Jackie Stewart. This was long time ago, and he was on very little on the races that ABC covered back in the day, which weren't very many. We've had David Hobbs at CBS. Who could have imagined an Australian voice of NASCAR in America? I just think what Lee Diffie has done is unbelievable. It should have a documentary on him at some point because he has just done such amazing work, and to get to this point, Bathurst 1000, to get to this point really had to be. You think he could have ever dreamt of that?
No, couldn't have done. And he was part of the BBC actually over here in the UK for many years. He was the it wasn't called MotoGP then. It was 500. It was the Motorcycle Grand Prix, but he was part of the BBC coverage alongside Susie Perry and Steve Parish as well back in the day. And then he left at the end of 2001, went stateside. And he was taken over by Charlie Cox, and let me tell you something. Charlie Cox, Susie Perry, and Steve Parish as a duo. The stories you could tell of those three as well, and they are very funny people. But he's always remembered, and I think he always leaves a mark about where he is across every single paddock, and he is a testament to how brilliant a broadcaster you can be, that everybody wants you to work in your motorsport series. And he covered the race in Michigan in 2017, and NASCAR put that clip up a few days ago. The finish of that was more energetic than Rick Allen's, and I think that's what NASCAR's missing. You get the sensible but energetic calls on Fox with Mike Joy, and you respect Mike Joy with it all as well. But then we're missing the Alan Bestwicks. We're missing it where you want to watch this race and you want to be on the edge of your seat, listening to the commentators go full beam, and that's what Lee Diffie does, and that's what I think NBC really need on their NASCAR team. And I'm very happy that they've made the call. I said in our Grid Network chat, to me, the box this year on NBC, because I've watched a couple when I haven't been in the box, and you lot have been calling it as well. I've watched the next day and I flip back and I always watch the highlights to see, as probably you do, Matthew, as well, see what tips we can bring up and see what they were saying in the box. The NBC box this year feels flat and dead without Dale. And it's just Rick Allen's like not even trying this year. That's what I got.
How deep you want to get into this?
Bob Jenkins was the standout. I will admit that.
How deep do you want to get into this? I ask because
8 minutes, so go on.
I just ask because you can be on the edge of your seat watching a race on television without the announcers screaming over the top of everything. And Rick has just not been able to consistently match the moment with what the moment deserves. I've said this all the time. Alan Bestwick, amazing at just shutting up and letting the pictures tell us the story. Mike Joy does it so well. Ken did it well. Bob Jenkins did it well. Rick has just not been able to consistently give that. And Lee, what I can't wait to hear from Lee is this weekend at Daytona, first time for him doing this super speedway pack racing. And I would imagine, even with all of his experience with 500s and Bathurst 1000s and all of these big races, it's going to take his breath away at the start. And I hope for him, and Lee Diffie does not need me giving him any advice, but if I were to just say one thing, when his breath does get taken away for that first time on Saturday night, when they're 3 and 4 wide, 5 rows deep, just lay out, watch it.
You warned me about that when I started at Daytona this year. Yeah, because it is like, you may commentate IndyCar 500s and Formula One and, lights out starts and everything, but green flag rolling route starts at Daytona and in NASCAR, just completely different. You've got to be looking at so much stuff at one time and trying to pick out and identify cars. And I'm still getting it wrong now. It's my first year in the NASCAR box fully, and I'm still getting it wrong. And I'm still get to have that feeling of leaving the commentary box and going, yeah, that went right. That went right. Because I still don't. I don't think many people do, because there's always levels you can improve upon. And I'm so looking forward to hearing what he's got to say this weekend. I think everybody is. And I think Ken Squire's got Ken as well. That was fantastic, wasn't it, as well? I think the one I listen to MRN all the time as well, says Craig Franklin as well. Ben also says, for every Homestead 2016, there's 10 aggressive goes around the outside. The out goes around with Rick Allen, yeah. I mean, commentators have their little sayings, don't they, as well? I mean, we pick them up quite a lot in commentaries. Because the one thing you can't do as a commentator is go, you can't do that, can you? You've got
but
to
you can't lose control either.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. And I think that's why you've got to have the right number of people in the box. So you've got to know who's going where and keep it lined up as well. Quickly then, I don't really have a lot of hots on the weekend as well. I can barely remember it. It was all a bit of a sleep deprivation. I think the one.
I think that happened last time too. It's probably nobody. You want me to take the call on air? We can take the call on air and see what they want. I'm sure it's absolutely nobody.
It's Lee Diffie. Go on, technically.
I'm like the only person left that actually has a landline. Apologies.
No, I'll go on. It's fine. I'll go on. My hot from the weekend, Philip, who was a viewer on all of ours across the He might be watching tonight. Hello, Phil, if you are. Very kindly provided us with his FaceTime camera and footage for our trackside watch long at the circuit. So that was a very big thank you. Knots, Matthew, then. We've got 4 minutes left of the programme. What's your knot from the weekend? And I know you said rain earlier on.
Yeah,
so.
Well, the weather has just been terrible all season long. Ridiculous. Start times, I could get into that, but I'm so worn out on start times and networks, and the race was led into by Law and Order. We were leading into Law and Order. Heaven forbid we have a 1 o'clock start time. Okay. Like I said, I won't go into it. Joseph Newgarden really manipulated that penultimate restart at Gateway, didn't he? IndyCar is going to have to clean up these restarts. They've been messy, especially on the ovals. The 500 restarts the last couple of years have been total chaos. I don't know if a restart zone is the answer. I don't know. Maybe the answer is just penalizing these guys and saying we're not putting up with this, because that was always going to happen with how chaotic these restarts have been. And it's just dangerous to get a car up in the air. I guess that should be another nod, is LaTroy and Kyle Sieg going up in the air too this weekend at Michigan. Jeez. Not unprecedented to see stock cars upside down at Michigan, but still rare. But yeah, we did that Gateway race together. That's a hot, by the way. Thank you for
pleasure.
Me on for Gateway. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, Joseph Newgarden, deserving winner of the race, spin and win. But I didn't love how he orchestrated that penultimate restart, and then didn't love Will Power's reaction to it either. I mean, and also didn't love what Will Power did to David Maluka. So I had a lot of knots.
All about IndyCar as well. I used to be a flagman, so it's like, really? Oh, what a job. What a job. I really want to take green flags and control that. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I love that.
Adam says, being from New England, I grew up listening to Ken's Grant, Mike Joy, and Bob Jenkins as well. Of course. Isn't Mike the only one left now as well? That's a shame as well. I think Joseph Newgarden got some tips from Austin Dillon on how to handle restarts on that one. That's silenced everyone. Out of quick interest as well, is the problems we're seeing on the ovals in restarts as well a factor of that IndyCar for so long have gone with not having many oval races anymore and have gone more towards road courses?
I'd say that probably has something to do with it. I don't know how much, but I'd say it has something to do with it. We'll see at Milwaukee. But also, we've seen some tomfoolery on some road and street. My goodness. Relentless. On road and street course race. Remember Nashville when was it Marcus Ericsson who went skyward? I think this is an overarching issue with IndyCar right now and some of this restart drama.
We're having a right evening for it today, aren't we, as well? Right. You'll be glad to know we only got 30 seconds left of the hour that we've logged in for. So thank you for your hots and knots, Matthew. I would send both cars to the back. Great idea.
Yeah.
Craig. That's penalising them. Send them to the back as well. You did not just compare Joseph Newgarden laying back on a restart to Austin Dillon dumping 2 drivers in one corner. It's that type of program. It is that type of program. Or was it Larson or Hamlin who jumped the restart a couple of weeks ago? Which one was it? I can't remember either. It was
Hamlin at Richmond earlier this year.
That was it. Yeah.
It went uncalled.
Yeah, that was Hamlin jumped the restart, and I think did he cause the pile up? Was that something like that? There's something that I was in. I think I was in the box for that one, or watching and screaming at the monitor, as I often am, for when I bothered to turn up to NASCAR. I'm joking, of course. If I'm too tired, I'll just let Matthew do it. This one, nah. I'm joking. That's happened once when I was very ill after. Was it Le Mans?
Yes.
Yeah. I could not do it as about half an hour before was that the All-Star race? And I just thought I can't do it. I think it was something. It was something like that. Anyway, no, but you got me back the next week. I've just remembered with the Coca-Cola 600.
Oh boy. Ooh.
That
boy.
Was.
I think I came out on top on that one.
Yes, you did. I said, yeah, don't worry, me and JT will cover it as well. Up 36 hours and then a 5-hour rain delay as well. That was a lot of fun as well. Thank you, Fox, by the way. We all could see it wasn't going to restart. Just that was the one good thing about Sunday, by the way. We weren't hanging around until 8:30. Yeah. That was a good decision from NASCAR because we could all see the rain coming in and going. So that's a hot NASCAR using their heads for once as well. So thank you, Matthew, for your hots and knots. Yes. And thank you to everybody watching. Taking a look at our upcoming schedule. Saturday, we've got Grid Live pre-race. That is at noon Eastern. Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up is 90 minutes after the NTT IndyCar Series race at Portland. That's because, of course, Daytona for IndyCar is on a Saturday night. Monday, we've got Grid Encore, recapping the Xfinity race at Daytona, the Trucks and ARCA at Milwaukee, plus the Indy NXT race at Portland. So please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for helping us to get to 1,000 subscribers. Now we are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications for when we go on the air and follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. That new website again, gridnetworktv.com. You can take 5 minutes to invest in Grid Network through Patreon. You can join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin, David, and Matthew, who invest each month in the Grid Network as well. And we encourage you to join these fine folks who keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can start expanding our team to trackside, expanding the coverage, and the link to all of that is in the video description. And if you want to do a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link. You can get your name on the board and invest as much as you want as well. And you can support our own Joe Sammiego and Jackson Ambrose, who are covering the NTT IndyCar Series race weekend at Portland International Raceway. Watch out for all the bonus content coming to the channel this weekend. And you can consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they will thank you on the air. So, first of all, apologies for all the technical issues we've had tonight, and Lee Diffie trying to call Matthew as well throughout the evening as well. For Kobe Lambeth and Matthew Owens from the Ultra Sport Radio Network, I'm Joshua Bird. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.